Thanks again for joining us on another episode of Business Confidential. I'm Matthew Dykes, the host, and I'm with Guerilla Media as well, where we help you share your story, build your brand, grow your business with video that works for you. And as always, I have my trusty producer, Diana from Studio 239. The best podcast studio in Southwest Florida, regardless of what you heard. No, I'm kidding. And today, we're very lucky because we are joined by our friends, Lee and Lizette Froloff from Maxeffect Computers, and it's communications, right?
That's right.
All right. Because I was leaving the communications off, and the important thing about computers and networking and connecting is the communication part. It's a very big. It's hidden. It's behind the scenes. So it's in a big rack with a lot of cables. And you can check them out at mymaxeffect.com. And I highly recommend going there. But we're gonna do a little bit different of a show today. We're gonna talk about some things, how to handle some things when unforeseen circumstances come up, and how to handle that in your business. And I think you're going to enjoy this show. As a matter of fact, I know you're going to enjoy it. And if you don't, well, then go watch some other show like Joe Rogan, because it's a really good show. No, please stay, watch this show and share it. So we're here to discuss all things IT, voice and data, networking, and what's the other one? Surveillance, which I didn't realize that was a big part of your business.
Absolutely.
So over the last 40 years, just to kind of set the stage, we know that computing has come from, and not even 40 years, really, since the dawn of time, since the abacus, since we went from the abacus to the punch card, and then really we went from IBMers to Mac and Windows to what we have today, which is we carry around in our pocket or on our wrist more than the people that circumnavigated the globe and went to the moon. Allegedly, for my flat earthers out there. I'm not one, but hey, still support you. You're allowed to have your opinion. But seriously, computing has taken on so many different roles just in the last 40 years. It doesn't mean what it used to mean. And so what does your business look like on any given day?
Well, one thing I like about the business, it's always something different, first of all. And because of the diverse products and services that we sell, our business can look a little bit different on any given day. Sometimes we're licensed low voltage electrical contractors. So that means my background is really a network engineer, or I'm a computer guy, but we install networks. And at some point I realized there's a license requirement to get those cables in place. And so I got the state licensed by the state of Florida. So some days we are up on a ladder 20 feet up in the air, or on lifts, and wiring in your local restaurants or commercial businesses or residential households with cameras. And there's other days we have the other side of the office that's desktop support, and so they're repairing computers, they're replacing screens, they're fixing viruses. We do managed services, so we're monthly maintenance on a contract with customers. So it really is. It's one thing I enjoy about the industry. It's always something different. But as time goes on, we've grown, and those two parallel sides, the wiring side and the desktop support side, are running parallel. So right. Both sides, but the engine is firing on both sides and all cylinders, and that's actually one of my favorite days.
Yeah, right. When you got to do more than one thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. Computers are being repaired. We're wiring in such and such business and stuff, and everybody's happy. Everybody's happy when we're working. So.
As they should be, by golly. Well, so I didn't know that you had to have a specific license to do the cable. Is it for the cabling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah. And so you not only have to have degrees and certifications, but you also have to be licensed by the state and bonded and insured and a partridge in a pear tree. So
100%. If you needed a couple jacks on the wall there, there's a lot of people that'll just come and do it. But then I would question, are they doing it up to code? Because did they study the code, which is what you have to know in order to get that license? There's a huge test. And then you have to go in front of the electrical board, Florida contractors, and be approved. It's actually a pretty in-depth process. But if anybody's out there, doing what we do, and you say, "Oh, I do computers too," get your license. There's plenty of opportunity in this town, in this area. Get the license. It can be a real big step forward for your company. But yeah, and you'll learn a lot, and you'll know what's required of us in the industry. And if you like the industry, then do what you need to do to be one of the best in the industry. And a license is certainly forms the foundation, I think, of that.
Yeah,
It
it's
opens
really
a lot of doors. Really, it does. It lets you go after bigger jobs. I mean, we do a lot of restaurants from the ground up. I mean, it just opens a lot of doors for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it amazes me that so many people don't associate electricity with the computer other than the power on. Well, in order to get that internet feed, I mean, that's what's, sending those data packages back and forth to communicate.
Sure.
And it's low voltage, but that can still have, I mean, amazing effects or some really dangerous effects.
Sure.
So, since we're on that topic, recently you guys had a crazy event happen with your business, and I'm sure I know a lot of my viewers are familiar because we are a business community that supports one another, and you guys are in that community. You guys are my people. You are my IT people. If you are the people that saved some of my footage from 2012. Thank heavens. We needed it so bad. And it was a drive that had just died. It was crazy. So, but you guys had a circumstance come up in your business. Why don't you go ahead and share with us what happened?
The entire place almost burned to the ground. We're not sure exactly what caused what was a small fire, but we're a small business in a small shop. And so even though it was a small fire, it had huge consequences. Mostly, it was mostly smoke damage more than fire damage, but the things where the fire started were burned and destroyed. That was our back shop area. We had about $7,000 in customer equipment in the shop before our equipment was tallied. And then there was our equipment, and then of course the shop is unusable, so we're unable to work from the shop now. And like you said, we have such an awesome community. The outpouring of support after this was overwhelming, and I didn't even realize right at first the gravity of the situation. I'm like, oh, things got smoke on them. We'll be able to clean it off. I mean, that smoke permeated everything. I couldn't return customer computers to them, so we knew we had to replace that equipment to keep. To keep good faith. And we had some family and friends start a GoFundMe for us, and it raised enough money actually to cover our losses, even though it was over $7,000 in customer equipment alone. So it really saved our butts. But in effect, so we had the fire, even though it was a small fire, it's been major. It's been a major obstacle for us. But thankfully, through the outpouring of support and our current workload, that we have been busy and been blessed with work lately, a lot of work, we were able to, persevere. I know that we'll get through it. Unfortunately, I still, to this day, don't know exactly what that looks like moving forward. There's still some things up in the air, but they're repairing the old office for us. We have a temporary location. One of our customers, if I could just shout out Minuteman Press,
Sure.
And David Ogden, just awesome people. And we had several customers offer us office space. But David actually had a small office behind his facility, and they're outstanding printers here in Naples on Airport Road. And they've given us a little spot back there to continue to conduct business. And fortunately, a lot of our business on the desktop support side and the wiring side has a lot more to do with our knowledge.
Sure.
We did have tools that burned up, but it's pretty common tools, screwdrivers and such. Most of our expensive tools are in the work van and wasn't affected. Thank goodness. So basically, we've relocated there, and we were able to kind of pick up where we left off and continue on, which has been, it's been very helpful. And we're persevering, and we're getting through as a team. Everybody's pitching in even more if anything. And as a team, we just come together, and we're just doing the best we can to push forward.
I like that you said that we come together and push forward together.
Yeah.
Because you can do this alone, but it's a lot better when you have friends and you have a team.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
You know, so
Definitely.
what was the mindset when you saw that all this happened? How did you guys determine? Because I know you're determined individuals, but how did you guys go, okay, I don't want to focus on the negative. Let's focus on what we can do. What was that mindset like in the conversations between you guys?
Well, first of all, the phone calls just kept coming in, so there was no time to even really
It's the
go
thing. You don't have a
over
choice.
everything.
Phone's
And
ringing.
I mean, we didn't realize like everything that was lost in the fire till we started working again, which was right away. And as the work came in and we noticed, oh my gosh, we don't have this. Okay, let's order this. Oh, we got to order that. Oh, this computer's missing. And like ours, we don't have a bench computer, so we had to order a new one. But you don't realize it until, I mean, there were so many things. Even when you went to clean out the shop and we noticed more personal things.
We don't have a bucket.
We don't have.
Where's the cleaning
Where's
product?
my dang bucket?
But even personal stuff, like we had paintings from his stepdad, from my son's first big painting that he had done, a dollar bill that his dad had given us when we opened the shop, and he had
Oh,
signed
man.
it.
Yeah.
I mean, those things got destroyed, but you don't even realize all the things that you have in there after being there for over 10 years. You acquire a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you
sure.
know? And you just don't realize it till you go through it, and that takes time. I mean, we weren't able to get in there for weeks, almost a month, I'd say. And
The toxicity of the things that were burned, the
Oh,
cords,
really?
cables,
Yeah.
boards, circuit boards. I mean, there were carcinogens there. You think, I'm a big bad guy. I'm just going to go in and do what I got to do. Well, then a couple minutes you realize, like, oh my god, my throat's sore. I mean, it was
feel
tangible.
nauseous.
and
You have to use like respirators to go.
Yeah,
We
we got
had respirators. We had gloves to go in there and start emptying everything out. Until we got everything out, there was nothing they can do to start repairing the shop. And
So how long did it take before you guys got to go back in there safely?
I'd say well, even when we went back after a month, I went in there and after a while having that respirator, you're sweating to death. And so I took it off and I'm like, I'll be okay. And I'm working around. I'm like, there's no way that this can be harming me. All of a sudden I start getting so nauseous. I had to go outside and I was like, all right, this isn't
Really?
going to work. And that's after a month.
It
The
really
smell
didn't-
was horrible.
It didn't become probably safe to be in there until we got that shop emptied of all the
Wow, man.
stuff that was just still holding on to, smoke and particles.
Yeah, and it's
of-
off-gassing.
of stuff.
So yeah,
And even stuff like I had just ordered a brand new pack of checks for the company. And I was like, I'm not going to throw this away. It still sits on my desk now. And I roll over this way and I could smell the smoke. And I'm like, oh my God, is it ever going to go away?
Right, yeah.
We tried to salvage some stuff. I mean, we still have, and so there's a little bit of a lingering odor, and from what people have told me, that things will go away, and it's just actually gotten better and
Sure.
better and better. And this is, I mean, before we even brought anything to the other site, there's things that were hard surface. Her desk, it's metal, it's solid wood. I said, okay, we can scrub this. This will be fine. But so we did salvage a few things from the front of the office that was farthest away from the fire. But still, when you walked in the office, the new location, temporary site, the following Monday, after you've been breathing clean air, it hits you in the face.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh, I can smell this. So we got a couple of little candles or whatnot. And now,
Not candles, they're just the warming things. We're not starting any more fires.
Yeah, there'll be no more flame. All right, no more.
Do you
open
hear
flame.
that? Look, no can.
Let's
No
move on.
candles.
I promise. No open flame.
But we've improved the air quality there, and it really is getting to be less of the reminder,
Sure.
of that smell.
And it was
stuff.
great.
But
When we walked in, he had a board set up on the wall already with a big sign that says, "Welcome home, Maxeffect Computers."
Nice.
Team.
Very nice.
So for all of us, as soon as we walked in, we got to see that. That's when it really all came together. We had Austin, we had Lewis, us. I mean, and we said, okay, this is it. This is our new workspace. We're going to get to it. Not that we weren't working before, poor Austin out of his home,
Sure.
us out of our home. I mean, it's just been chaotic, but we came together in that office and we really made it into our new home.
Yeah, and I think that just continuing to work and just stay focused on the task at hand does help you process. I don't know that you get to sit down and contemplate, the existential life crisis that you just went through and how,
No.
but you do get to just, hey, one step in front of the other. It's like, what about Bob? It's just baby stepping on the bus. But you have to be able to do that. And the great thing about your guys' business, though, you're not really confined to that office space because you guys are out on the road every day.
Right.
Like you said, you're 20 foot, 40 foot in the air on a lift or a ladder.
Right.
The IT side, though, that it's really become, having that shop really helped bring in business, and it was more foot traffic. And so for people to have a place to just go and drop off their computer and say, hey, can you look at this for me? We do free evaluations. And for them to drop it off is so much easier, especially to have Austin in the office and just be able to look at each thing as they come in. So the IT side does kind of need that structure, whereas the wiring side, they're always gone. They're in the van.
So how often? So all right. So let's talk about this. You've got two sides of the business. You've got the people that come in to see you, and I'm assuming this is residential consumer clients that come in, and what
and business
and businesses
as well.
What kind of things do they bring in on a daily basis?
Oh, a laptop that the screen got smashed, a desktop that they can't start it up, maybe a bad power supply, a hard drive that they've lost their data, they can't.
We get a fair amount of gaming machines in there as well.
Yes. That's the big thing.
People, either upgrades, repairs. We've gotten, there's some groups on Facebook that I don't know where some of the folks come from. I'm thankful for them. We ask, but they'll say,
how did you find me?
I'm on the mom's group of Facebook, and my son's gaming machine, yada yada.
Right,
and then we are, not to toot my own horn, but I'm very proud of this. They will then, of course, do their research. They'll Google your business name, and when they Google our business name, we have all very good reviews and stuff on there. And so they'll say, I pulled it up a computer shop near me, or somebody recommended you, but they'll often say, and then I Googled the name, and then I knew that, we needed to come and see you guys and stuff.
Sure.
And so just very thankful for the kind things that folks have said about us online and stuff, because that is what, as consumers, that's where we're at today in society and computers. You now can just pull right up and see what everybody has to say. And even if there's some bad reviews on there, as a business owner, that's okay. If you have 10 good and 1 bad, people will be able to interpret that. And we're fortunate. I always say, I mean to brag, but we've been in business over 20 years. There's not one person out there that says this guy, these guys messed us over or anything like that. But I always say that that's not because we're the greatest either. I warranty the work. Right. And so if there's a problem, you already, as a business owner, you already know there's a problem. You do no need to wait for the consumer to come to you and say, I'm not really happy with what happened here.
Right. I mean, I'm so shocked.
Right. Yeah. Oh, so 3 times back for the same issue is, or we sold you a computer, you've had 2 problems in 6 months. I mean, so we pride ourselves on making everything right before the consumer has to let us know, and I'll let the person know. Listen, I just want to tell you something. This is the second issue with the new computer we sold you, and within a year, if we have another issue, one little fluky things is okay, but if it continues to happen like this, I'm going to get you out of it. Okay, we're going to refund you. We're going to upgrade. We're going to do something. But I just want you to know, it's not going to, if one more problem with this thing, it's got to go, ma'am, or whatnot. And I know that they appreciate. I'm a consumer. I try to treat my folks just like I would want to be treated, and unfortunately never get treated. If you get car problems, they never say that. We're going to get you out of this car.
That is an area of frustration that drives me crazy sometimes, because you care so much about your client and you try and go above and beyond. And so I've kind of set my own expectation when I go out and get customer service. And sometimes I get a bit incensed when people don't have the same care for the customer that I do. But I can't put that off on them, even though I really want to. But no, it really does matter. And, I think and like when you said, it's so easy to pull up and see what everyone's saying.
Right.
And when you do have a bad review, like in your name, I mean, it's about communication. So if I don't care if someone has 3, 4, 5 bad reviews, how did they handle that review? Right. Did they engage? Are they staying up on what people are saying about their experience that the customer is having with you? And how did you respond? And so people in general will give you a lot of latitude there if you communicate and they see that you at least tried. But listen, we all know in business, you can't be all things to all people. You try,
You try.
and not all people can you satisfy, even if you just did a bang up job,
Right.
But no, that's a real important part. And we all are customer facing, regardless if oh, well, no, I'm going to be up in your attic for the next 3 days. Well, you're still going to have to come down and talk to me at some point, right? You'll be a sweaty mess. So when you go out and you guys have been on the road, and is that your wheelhouse? Is that more what you want to do? What's your favorite part of doing this? And where do you like to live?
Well, personally, I mean, I went to school for an associate's degree from Edison at the time. That's FSW now, right? So we're going back. But that was an associate's in science with an emphasis on computer networking. And so what I went to school for. Now I did not know I was going to have a business. This is so many years ago.
Yeah.
But that's what I studied. And so really in my heart, I'm a network engineer. And so I enjoy the structured cabling, the design of networks, identifying problems and just kind of kicking its butt. We go in, hey, this isn't working or that's not working. So I really enjoy that part of it, but we had the desktop support computer company for so many years and still do. I find I enjoy being out on the road wiring, but when they say, hey, we're getting overwhelmed in the shop, we need you to, come in or whatnot. I almost feel like I'm getting right into a familiar cockpit,
Sure.
And I line them up. I start knocking them out, desktop repair. So I really do enjoy both sides of the business and the industry. But on a daily basis, if you were to say, hey, do you want to be working in the shop or do you want to go and install this camera system or network system at such and such? I'd rather be doing the structured cabling. There is, you fix the computer and the computer works, all right, and fine. If the screen was broke, now it's not, that's great. There's craftsmanship there. But in a network, if you look at some of our network enclosures and the cabling that we do, it's pristine. I'm really proud of the product that we produce, and you can really stand there and say, take a look at this. I would hope that, here you have a beautiful studio, by the way. I was impressed coming in. I would hope and think that somewhere there's a wiring closet or room, and if it's not pristine, that's okay. I'm just saying that when we do it, we'll leave them with a pristine job, something that they can look at and go, ooh, that's nice. But it's not just about the looks; it's maintainable, it's functional.
Oh, right. Yeah, it has to be functional.
Yes.
It can look amazing, but if it takes 6 people to figure out how to turn a light switch on, chances are it's not done right.
Right. Yeah. And if you have 50 jacks, if they're labeled, and then you go, hey, I'm plugging my laptop in here and it's not working, or my computer in here. Okay, well, let's go to the back, and hopefully there's a corresponding label, and so it's maintainable, so you can fix it. Hey, why isn't this working? The next person comes in, the next technician, and he's going to be able to look and go, okay, well, I can see it's jack 45. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to patch this into the right one. And maybe everything's labeled, everything's documented, and so yes, it looks nice, but it's really more about maintaining the system, and it's functional. And then, unfortunately, when it's done that way, we might not ever hear from you again.
Right. So that's the thing. Forced obsolescence is maybe not something you want to do, but
right.
No, I get it.
Right. Well, I figure hey, after 3 to 5 years, the equippment's made to run 3 to 5 years.
Sure, but you got to check up on it, right?
Oh yeah.
And people need to come in and every 6 months, right?
I would recommend.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not very many things that are set it and forget it in the IT world, and some of the things that you just can't forget about is backups, just at the top of the priority stack, right? You've got a lot of equipment. We talked about some of the lenses and cameras, and you got the mics, and you have the computers, and you have so much stuff. And if you brought in a new guy, you might be like, I don't know where this guy's going to start. We have this hodgepodge of stuff.
Yeah.
At the top of the stack, it's backups. I need to see what you're doing to back up your data. Now, anything beyond it, now we can form a plan to move forward and all, but would I go and fix the printer first? I want to pay attention to their primary concern of the day, but at the same time, at some point, we've got to talk about backups first and foremost. Tell me what you're doing with your data, because just what's going on in the industry with the ransomware and encryption and different, hard drives still fail. You know, and the computer still. I need to know that the data is backed up. Then we can talk about, you know, all the other things that we may have going on. And stuff,
so I mean, I could go on all day about this because we have terabytes of video assets that we have to back up, and I'm buying new drives every month. It's crazy, you know. And with the footage gets bigger. I mean, now there's 16K cameras out there, and bigger files and more storage is needed, but everything gets smaller, everything overheats. Now things have built-in heat sinks. It's crazy to think about. But one last thing on the network there, there are so many facets and sizes and needs for a network. Can you bring it down to like the 50-foot view for the average consumer of, what's a good network for a home and small business and what would be a good standard network for your small to mid-sized business?
We're talking brands and what I'd recommend.
Yeah, absolutely.
So on the residential, here's the thing. On the residential side, if you can avoid extensive and what can be expensive wiring and cabling, and remember, it's not just the cabling, the wiring. We got guys on ladders with people in dangerous positions. They could just put the foot through your ceiling, right?
Sure.
We've got to have the right insurance and all. So the right contractor he's not going to be your cheapest guy. Okay. So, and if we can avoid going into that wiring in a small business or a home, then we would try to. And so what we have is but at the same time, we don't want to be trying every hokey little thing.
Sure.
I'm not a fan of range extenders, quote unquote. But
do they even work?
No. And that's why
that's the thing. I'm like, every one that I've ever purchased doesn't even work.
Right. And so we don't really do it. And when somebody says that, I bought, and then they have a wide variety of pricing for range extenders. It can start at $29.99, or God forbid you get something on Temu for $9.99 or $2.
That's
right?
your quality craftsmanship right there, buddy.
Now, and so if somebody was going to try one, I would just say get the best one that you can. It should be in the $89 to $130 range, I would say. But I don't mess with them at all because I really don't think they're going to work. What we want to do is set up a mesh network if possible. And a mesh network basically means you have access points, wireless access points, but they're not wired together like they would be in maybe a commercial network. They are feeding off of each other, but due to antennas and the input and output of them, they can connect to each other and create what's called a mesh network that will cover a larger area. Now, this is in replacement of wiring in your house or your business. So we would try a system like the Eero system, which is by Linksys. Linksys is a division of Cisco, and Cisco is the industry leading network equipment provider. So there's other brands that we sell and things that we deal with that it's like this is their consumer line, but it's owned by this parent company that is an industry leader, and so Linksys is one of those. I do like the product, but what we typically say is, look, we're going to try this. Let's put in a couple of Eeros, 2 or 3 or 4. Mm-hmm. And we're going to do a site survey at that point because every house is different with the construction. Could be wood frames, could be metal frames, you could have marble on your walls. And so there's so many different factors. There's not really a good one size fits all. You've got to put in the equipment, and then you have to do site survey. You got to go to every corner of the house, so to speak. I mean, I go to the common areas, I go to the farthest out points, and I'm doing speed tests. Mm-hmm. And so I'll know that, okay, hey, Comcast is giving you a 1 gig connection. So you have 1,000 megabits per second. In the living room, we're down to 750. That's a 25% degradation of the signal. Out at the swimming pool and on the other side of the swimming pool in that lawn, and the chairs all the way out there. But there's going to be some person, young or old, trying to look at their phone out there.
Of course.
What is the loss of signal strength? And so if you go out there and we're down to, 50, well, 50 is still a decent speed, but we are saying that you just had a 95% loss of the signal out there. So we might want to try to extend it or do something out there. So for the home networks and to avoid the wiring, we throw in a mesh system like the Eero system.
Yeah.
If we're not liking the speeds that we're getting, because you have a 2 or 3 story home and it's just not going to work that way, then we need to talk about wiring in some access points. And then each access point that's wired in is going to carry that full 1 gig connection. You're getting 1,000 broadcast here, 1,000 broadcast there. And with a good system like what we sell Ubiquity gear. It's just a step below the Cisco Meraki line, in my opinion, without yearly licensing, because that's really where on a commercial network, well, one of the features, or I'm not going to say pitfalls. I mean, Cisco's a good, reliable product. And if you want that reliability and that solid product and quick response and good support, they want a yearly maintenance fee like a lot of companies do right now. They want you on the dole for life. So Ubiquiti doesn't have that, and it's also considered good gear. Their support isn't the greatest, so you really kind of need to know what you're doing with the gear. But thankfully, like I say, I went to school for networking. I do know, what we're doing as far as the network setup. I don't typically need their support. I just also know that it may not be there.
Sure. Yeah.
But let's get the equipment hooked up. It's good, solid network equipment with good range. And one of the things it does too is if you go from your downstairs, or let's take a restaurant as an example. Everything's moving to wireless these days in everything. A lot of things. Sure. You'll see your server has a wireless tablet at the table, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say you have a good sized restaurant. You have a out front deck, and the server comes out there and they take your order. Now they run all the way back to the kitchen area. They've got their tablet. They're all the way back to the kitchen area to run and grab that mayonnaise that you asked for, salt and pepper. And they realize, hey, I need to modify the order real quick. So back in the kitchen now, they go to modify the order. If that tablet is stuck to the transmitter all the way out by the front where you were, now they're getting cruddy signal. Mm-hmm. Things are circling around. Servers are getting upset. And I always say that it rolls uphill. I won't use the terminology, but this is going to roll uphill versus normally things roll downhill, of course. Because you're starting at the server level, they're going to become upset. They're going to tell their manager or assistant manager. Right. That's going to go to possibly the owners or the top guys. It's going to roll uphill, but it starts with people being upset at the server level, right? With our equipment, what will happen as that person goes from the front deck over to the kitchen, our access points will transfer them to each different access point in between. And when they go to modify that order in the kitchen, they're connecting to the kitchen access point. Right. Now, your cheaper gear won't do that. And so that is one of the big benefits of just current gear. So if you're a restaurant and you've got a couple Linksys routers from 1995 in there, and you want to know why your wireless devices aren't working correctly, this is a big part of it. It's not going to transfer that device from to the nearest access point. Mm-hmm. You would think it would, but it's just not intuitive enough to do so. Now, when it's working that way, even if you're in a busy club or whatnot, and they have their handheld things, everything's going to work smooth. The servers are going to be happier. The orders are coming out, and you're just not going to get that level, that particular issue. I'm sure they have other issues to deal with. So when you have good, solid network gear, the network will work. And that's kind of where we're at with some of the commercial stuff these days. Some of the obsolete equipment will not do some functions that are critical in a robust wireless environment these days. And so, wireless is becoming more and more prevalent, even though traditionally commercial networks would be wired in, right? A lot of your studio equipment may be wired in because that's your fastest, most solid connection. Mm-hmm. But just restaurants as an example, and there's other areas where they want a portable device. Sure. We've got to have robust wireless.
Well, and you've got to be smart to make smart systems smart, right?
That's essentially where I'm failing.
Well, I mean, because being in this industry, and I'm just on the other side with gear and things like that. Mm-hmm. Cabling is one of the most important things that you can do when you're using a cable to transmit a signal. Sure. And 9 times out of 10, the cable went bad. It's not your camera. It's not the user. Sometimes it's the user. Most times it's the user.
It's never the user.
Never the user.
Damn cable.
But no, with AI and with smart technology and, making smart homes interconnected and the Internet of Things, you want to have a smart home. However, if you don't have like you said, in that signal, having a repeated signal versus a degradation of signal makes a humongous difference in everything that you do. Sure. Whether it's from watching your favorite team while you're out at the pool, which if you're out at the pool, stop watching TV. Just hang out in the pool with your peeps. Or whether you're at the office, like you said, and you've got servers trying to communicate with clients and keep them happy in the most efficient way possible. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's ever changing. And yeah, so how are you guys? So Lizette, you pretty much are the boss. You run everything. Look, if you don't, I'm giving you the race. No, I'm kidding. I know you run everything. So how are you guys, handling all of this with AI and with scheduling and with, and now that you guys are in a new office, I'd imagine that's kind of it's a whole new ballpark that you're playing in. How are you managing to keep that rocking?
Well, every customer now has all of our cell phone numbers.
Important safety tip. Yeah.
Oh my.
Actually, in the office, we're doing real well because our client who gave us the office space also allowed us a phone for, it's called through Ring Central, which is an IP phone. And that's helped a lot. I'm able to forward the phones if I have to step out. And working in the office, we've really, it's amazing because when we were working from home right after the fire, we'd have to go on site. And we still were getting a lot of calls in. But as soon as people started finding out where we were, we have had such an influx of people coming in. And usually at the office, it's me and Austin. And I will sit there, I'll answer the phones, I'll try to schedule the appointments. He does all the repairs or goes on site if he has to for any calls. Everything's running really smooth there. And then I also I try to organize everything for the wiring side for as far as scheduling and everything else that goes along with that. Ordering and trying to keep up with social media and letting everybody know how we're doing and stuff like that. But it's really been a smooth transition, I would say, moving into the new office. Even though like everything that we need, we make it happen, we bring it in, we get it, and we keep moving forward. There's no stopping. The business keeps going. We can't stop.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
That's half the battle right there is just
is.
having that continual flow of business coming in and keeping it going.
Sure.
So what's one area of need for you guys right now? Is there one specific thing that you guys can kind of point at?
Well, I feel that some years that I felt like there's no summer slowdown. I feel the summer coming on now a little bit. We're finishing up some large projects, and so when we've taken on some of these larger projects, restaurants and stuff like that, we've been blessed to have, we've taken on additional team members, right? So now I feel the pressure of just keeping everybody busy, and just making sure that we have work for everybody. These are not, these are not kids. Some are young, but some of them have families and kids, and so right now one of the challenges is just making sure that we've got the workflow coming in on the desktop support side. That's pretty good, but we've just had that low voltage license for the last couple years, and so that side of the business is growing, and at the same time. I felt like in the past, if I focus too much on that side of the business, I'm abandoning the desktop support side.
Right.
And so we're kind of trying to juggle this thing. And but the wiring side, the jobs, the size of the jobs and the spec, can eclipse the desktop support side sometimes. If your computer's broken or we need to install some computers, it might be a couple grand. But that wiring side, it can actually go pretty high. And so there's a temptation to really focus on that, but we can't do that way. I need to make sure that both sides of the business are functioning and stuff. So, we have that.
We also have workers that can't do both sides. Like we have a worker who's on the wiring side. We actually have a couple workers that we would love to have full-time employees for the wiring side. And we have one right now, and it's just, you got to keep them busy, but they don't know about the computer parts. So
Sure.
Once the IT side is busy and going, if we don't have something in the wiring, then we don't have really work for those workers. So we're trying to drum up more business for the wiring side just to keep them busy. Right now, the IT side seems to be performing really well. Austin seems to be having a good handle on everything, and that side just keeps going. But the wiring side, we need to bring in more work, bring in more projects that'll keep them busy. We've got a great crew. Our crew has gone up and stayed at an Airbnb in Sarasota to get this restaurant off the ground. And they stayed there for 2 weeks doing all the wiring and putting in the cameras and the audio and everything else. And they do a great job. Everything is meticulously done. You can't see the wiring or anything. And It's just, and they're good at what they do. They're really good workers. So if we are able to bring them back on as much as possible, that's like our goal, is to really keep them busy.
And just continue to bring in that work. Yeah.
So what do those projects look like? Like, okay, so restaurants, what's the ideal project to put those guys to work and to make those projects come to life?
Well, any new construction, post construction. So if there's restaurants, or it doesn't have to be restaurants, right? We work for all different
Sure.
industries. Just in the last year or so, we've done a ton of restaurants, and so there are some that are being built from the ground up. And so we take the blueprints. We say, hey, well, if you're going to have equipment here, 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 and here, then we need this many cable drops. Now we need wireless. We need TVs. We need cameras. We need, or what are we doing for phones?
I'm sorry, audio.
What are we doing for phones, and and that kind of stuff? Then we'll go ahead and put together a presentation, and hopefully we're able to come to an agreement on numbers. It's pretty straightforward. We know what it's going to cost to get the wiring in, and the equipment is what it is.
Right.
So at that point, we get our crew out there, and you're talking a variety of ladders, lifts, equipment, cabling, and stuff. And typically, then in terms of inspection, there's the rough in phase of the wiring, where you just kind of get the wiring generally where it is, so that the inspectors for the permit can come in and take a look and say, okay, this all is up to code. And at that point, we can trim it out and terminate it. And so we're putting faceplates on and jacks and installing the cabinet and that kind of stuff. And then after that is the installation of the equipment. And so, obviously the cabinet, cameras and everything. At that point, once everything is in, then we do a very thorough test out of everything. So I pretty much have a good idea of, as far as the cabling goes. This was tested thoroughly on the day we were there. So if something's not working, something may have changed or whatever, but we'll put eyes on it and repair whatever's going on. Then there's the training of the customers, but that's actually usually pretty straightforward. Even though these are complex systems, we bring it all home with a universal kind of remote interface that's on an iPad or a variety of different tablets that should streamline it and make it simple. Like we said earlier, like if the end user can't use it,
right.
What's the point?
Right.
And so we actually and then customize that, right? I want them to, when they pick up the controller, it's going to have like the custom graphics on there to show the different rooms or zones for music and different things and all. And so actually, I'm really proud of what we leave the customer. I mean, it aesthetically is looking good. Functionally, it's functioning great. Yeah. Price wise, we do our absolute best. We're very competitive. So I mean, I'm real proud of the stuff that we're doing, really on both sides of the business. Certainly on the wiring side. And, if there's builders out there, builders are probably a big customer for us. They have this stuff. They'll have, electrician might say, look, I do the low voltage wiring. I'm the electrician. Well, I mean, we are focused on this. This is our specialty.
Right.
And I'd compete against anybody at any time in my trade. I would not go and put in high voltage electrical.
Right. But that's not your niche.
Right.
Right.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think that, having somebody who specializes in this and, is going to be responsible for it. And let's not forget, after it's all set up, we kind of want to get, do your maintenance. You'll have other things. Let's talk about your administrative computers, even if your point of sale is taken care of by the point of sale company. Well, you have back office computers. We need to make sure a virus doesn't get into the system. We want to be your go-to folks.
You read my mind. I was going to talk about, next thing was, you guys don't just leave them there without support. You guys offer support on a continual basis, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's the main thing. You can't just, well, here you go. Here's the most expensive car you've ever purchased, and good luck figuring out how to run it.
No way.
No way. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Cars back when they didn't have a million processors and computer chips put in, maybe. Yeah. But now, there's a learning curve to everything, and to have a smart friend and a support group like you guys are, and it's very important. Well, what would you say what are the 5 things? We started this last week, and this was with Blake, the adjuster I was telling you about, Blake Day, from Day Adjusting. So we asked him his top 5 things about something in his industry. Top 5 things in your industry that get overlooked by people but are simple fixes. I know that I'm putting you on the spot here, so if you don't have an answer right away, it's okay. We have time. But what would be the top 5 things that people need to be on the lookout for that maybe it just wouldn't occur to them?
I would say when people call with computer issues, the first thing we always tell them is, have you rebooted your computer? And that's a big one because it needs to be reset every once in a while, just like your phone, just like, you have to shut it off, turn it back on, let it freshen up a little. I would say that's the number one thing. Check your wiring, make sure everything's plugged in correctly.
Absolutely.
We've had a couple of calls that we've had to go out and the plug was just sitting on the floor and we're like, here you go. Plugged it right in for them.
Yeah. I mean, as far as, on the desktop support side, and I think that's probably where this conversation would be focused. Absolutely. Whenever you're having an issue, turn it off. Turn it on. Like they say, an apple a day can keep the doctor away. A reboot a day might keep the desktop.
Away.
Sure, the desktop gremlins away.
Yeah. Some things I'd want people to be on the lookout for. I mean, if somebody's out there listening, there's so many scams out there right now, right? And really, and this is happening to some really sweet people, some really great people, and it really irks me. But just to cut to the chase. You're getting emails all the time that might say, hey, thanks for this purchase of McAfee antivirus for $653. And people might lose their minds. And, oh, wait, I didn't do this. I didn't do that. You've got to look, and one of the main things to look out for, let's look at who did this come from. So you want to click the name in the header of what is the email address. And if it came from, Tropical Life at tropical123.com, that's not a McAfee address. But so many people don't know to do this. But you've got to really dig in, especially when anything involving money. We've got to do some due diligence. And you might maybe, talk to a family member. I mean, we prefer, if you call us, we hear so many scams so much of the time. Before you can even get the whole story out, we often know, okay, exactly what this is and how to mitigate it. We have several levels of that mitigation. Like we have to know exactly what happened, right? So let's say you just get that pop-up that comes up and says, this is Microsoft. There's a problem with the computer. There's an 800 number. You can't turn it off. And so our question right after that is, did you call the number? Did you speak to them? Oh, yeah, I called them and but then, I realized it was a scam, and I hung up. Well, I have to know. Did you let them connect to the computer? Oh, man.
Don't ever let anybody connect to your computer.
Yeah, and that is our rule of thumb. So if they've let somebody connect to the computer, that's kind of another level of what the severity of what has just happened to this person. So if it's just a pop-up ad, sometimes they call, I can't get it off my screen. What can I do? And say, okay, we're going to hold in the power button. We're going to turn off the computer. And it's often associated with a mistyped URL, right? Address. Yeah. Instead of Google, you typed Giggle or Goggle or something, right. and it took you off to the scam. And so if you stopped it right there, it's just going to be a reboot of the machine. If you've spoken to them on the phone, that's okay if you hung up. But if you've let them connect, it's another little bit of another level of severity. We recommend that we just reformat the computer if you've let a stranger connect to it, because I'm not the world's greatest hacker. I didn't work for the NSA. And so when I'm going to shake hands with somebody and say, listen, I've given, it used to be I'd say, I'm going to give the computer a once over. I'm going to search for any backdoors. I'm going to search for any viruses. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I felt pretty comfortable shaking hands. But at some point I go, is what I'm saying that I'm the world's greatest technician and somebody couldn't hide something in there? And in order for me to shake hands and say, hey, this is going to be okay. We have mitigated this. I need to reformat the computer. Now that's costly. I don't want to see it happen. If we could have stopped the person before they let somebody connect, that's where I'd really want to swoop in and say, hey, hold on a minute. Let's draw a line in the sand here. Yeah. And unfortunately, in today's, where we're at with technology, connecting to somebody else's computer is so commonplace right now that people are doing it. They're allowing it without really thinking of it. Because if you had to use a computer company, or different things, they will connect to it. So you go, oh, I guess, that's where we're at now. People can connect to the computer. They can take over the computer. I'm here to say no. Nobody connects to these computers. Nobody.
Right.
unless it's somebody you know here in Naples or somebody, your family member. Because even if, you search for QuickBooks tech support, you search for HP tech support, there's this legion of crumbs that they've paid to be at the top of the page.
Yeah.
And so you think you're talking to one of these support places, but you're really not.
Right.
And who are we talking to?
Right.
I mean, a lot of this stuff has been outsourced over to other countries. I won't name any, but I think we know where a lot of the tech jobs are going.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
And so maybe it's not a scam company, but still, we don't know who this is. And even if they're the employee of the month over there, if they decide they're not happy with the way they're being treated, and they know that they're doing tech support for Americans, do they decide that, I know what I'm going to do here? I just don't want that for anybody. I don't want that for you.
So err on the side of caution.
100%.
You know.
And so the rule of thumb is, even though we see people connecting to people's computers all the time, nobody connects to your computer except for your local provider, maybe your son or daughter or a family member.
Right.
If you're sure you're talking to your bank, but if people say, well, what about, my bank? Sometimes I got to check the, commercial sites. Our check scanner is not working.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, you've got to be sure. So how you
anything that has to do with money. I mean, especially the money thing, and because that can go away really quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really a dangerous scenario. So, at what point, or I'm sorry, so what is the best point of contact for you guys, and what would you say to people out there? Invite them in to see you, tell them where to go, and just give them all the info and the contact details.
Okay, we are located at Minuteman Press on Airport Road, and you can come and see us Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. There's always somebody there. You could call us at 239-354-9963, and we could either come on site for you, or you can come and see us, and we'll give you the directions if you need it.
I think the 354-9963, it's the best number to call. We'll be moving back into our old office. They're saying July 1st. I'm not sure if it's really going to materialize or not. But yeah, currently we're located at 771 Airport. But, call the office number. Even in the after hours, we're monitoring those calls. If you call it, again,
leave them a message.
Leave a message.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll get back
and
to
we
you,
have,
definitely.
again, these restaurants. I mean, sometimes we don't know there's a problem until later in the evening and stuff. So we're quite responsive. Even though we've grown, we're still a small company. We're still a mom and pop. I'm the pop and she's the mom, and we're monitoring those phone lines. So if you were to leave a message, hey guys, I need help, you might find that you get a call back at 7:00 at night when you're calling, or that we pick up the phone because we know there's no reason that you'd be calling at 7:00 at night
unless
been having
there's a
problem.
challenge. Right. Yeah. Well, we really appreciate you guys taking time with us. We wish you the absolute best of luck going forward with all of this. We will connect you with Blake Day. So you guys can talk to him. And I want to just say, anyone out there that has a computer question, a networking question, a video surveillance question, give these guys a call. They know what they're doing. They're the pros at it. They're the people we call. And so we know that we know them, we like them, and we trust them. So you can too. That's right. I said that.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for everything.
No, hey, look, we appreciate you guys. And we want to be, Business Confidential is a platform for our business community here and abroad, for us to, further strengthen this community, to help each other through, and I want people to comment. I want people to ask questions. I want people to have a smart friend to connect with that knows that thing when they have a question. And that's what we're trying to do. But also, I want people to know when people are going through challenges. You guys are going through a challenge right now. And I admire both of you for hanging in there and hanging tough and pushing forward. And we're going to push forward with you. And the best help that we can have is to let people know what your circumstance is and that you're still kicking butt, doing some amazing work. And you're going to continue to do that. But also, there's people in our audience that know people that can help on a lot of different areas. So we want to empower our network, we want to empower our platform, and we want to empower our clients and our friends and all of our friends that own companies. So that's kind of what Business Confidential is. You heard it from me today. That's what it is. If you didn't know the definition, that's what it is. So thanks so much for joining us. Thanks so much to Lee and Lizette. And you guys check out Maxeffect. It's awesome. mymaxeffect.com.
Nice.
And, you know, you can feel free to just dig in there, and they do a lot of things we didn't even get to touch on today. So make sure that you go to Guerilla Media. If you want to be on the show, info@guerillamedia.tv. Connect with Guerilla Media on all our socials. Make sure you connect with the Business Confidential page on Facebook, also on Spotify. Make it happen. Go out there, follow us on there. So look, I'm going to sign off for the day. Thanks so much. Be sure to check in. I don't know who our guest is next week, but we're going to have somebody. So make sure you're there, and just know Business Confidential, where it's our business to know your business.